Welcome to the Institute of Neurodiversity's new podcast, Neurodisruptors, the podcast where we celebrate the extraordinary stories of neurodivergent individuals smashing stereotypes, breaking boundaries, and redefining what's possible. I'm the host, Amanda Graham, and today we're kicking off with a powerhouse guest who embodies resilience, creativity, and fearless ambition. Plus, she has an incredible story about Steven Spielberg and a pot noodle snack, but we're going to get to that a little later. This is Jadey Duffield. She's an award-winning British director, writer, producer, and former stuntwoman whose career is as dynamic as her amazing films. She's known for her eccentric action comedies like The Last Dumpling, Sticky Fingers, and 10 Minutes for a Pound, all BAFTA qualifying shorts. Thank you very much. Jadey has collaborated with some of Hollywood's biggest names, including Steven Spielberg in Ready Player One, Chris Hemsworth in The Huntsman Winter's War, and Marvel Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy. She's the founder of DreamWorks Films, and she combines her passion of storytelling with her expertise in action choreography to create visually stunning and emotionally engaging films. In 2025, she continues to make waves with projects like The Last Dumpling, which has earned multiple nominations and director acclaim, critical acclaim, all of the acclaim. She's also shadowing Christopher McQuarrie right now in Mission Impossible. So, Jadey, thank you so much and welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you. I just want to take you everywhere with me and do like just you can just be my intro person all the time
It's
because
tricky not to be excited about your trajectory on.
oh, thank you. Well, I'm so thrilled to be here talking to you about all of this. So, yeah, I mean, it's amazing and you're an amazing host and I want to give you credit before we start as well because someone should be interviewing you as well on this.
Well, I'll tell you what, like I don't think that I don't think that a lot of people's stories can match to how exciting your journey has been. Starting from the beginning, when you were young, growing up, and you had the specific challenge of dyslexia, but you had other challenges as well. So can we talk about like some of what your youth was like and what your biggest challenges were?
Yeah, totally. I guess I mean these diagnoses have come around more now. I guess back then you never know what's wrong with you. You're just kind of like, why can't I read? Why can't I sight read? And yeah, I mean at school, I guess I dreaded. I mean, I was always a storyteller, so I loved writing essays and stuff like that. But I hated the moment where you'd go into English class and you had to stand up and read out a paragraph from a book in front of everyone. I think I can't remember if it was of Mice and Men or something like that that we were doing. And yeah, I heard my little old name get called out. And they were like, "Can you stand up and read the next paragraph?" And I just remember feeling like I couldn't breathe, number one. And secondly, just scanning this paragraph and thinking, "Oh my God, there's words here that I don't know how to say them or what they are, or I would replace words and think that I saw a word as something else, and just became really terrified of sight reading, which I guess then when I was acting, I guess the thought of being given a script as a cold read, as I went through that, petrified me. So I never knew what it was, and I always remember like my dad also particularly struggling with reading and writing and stuff like that as well. And yeah, I guess like once you find out what it is, it makes it a little bit more easier to understand, and then getting other people to understand and not bully you for it or make you feel stupid was then the next big challenge of moving through into the industry and into my career as well.
Do you think, given th that challenge, which is quite extraordinary, because reading is such a, it's a fundamental part of acting, it's a fundamental part of directing and everything else. Between that and, say, your working class background and the fact that you didn't have connections in your family, did you see a career in the film industry as something that was a viable thing for you to do?
Um, yes and no. I think obviously coming from a working class family. I wasn't from school. I never went to university or anything. I mean, I'm always proud of getting my A's and B's, but it was all in music, dance, and drama and stuff like that. So I think I got a C in English from my storytelling, but everything else was like, I wasn't going to be able to get into university. But then I always knew that I wanted to, be in the industry. I guess my mom put me into dance classes really young, and that's why I ended up, wanting to be a professional dancer to start with. And then the acting and being a clown, I think, was just a natural process. Having said that, I did spend a lot of time outside the classroom because I'd been stupid or been sent out and made people laugh, and that became a thing of like, oh, maybe I'm funny. So it doesn't matter that I can't read or spell. So maybe I can just be funny. And then I've become that performer, and that's where the comedy element came in too. But um, from school, yeah, I went straight into theatre school at 16. And um, I applied for quite a few schools, but they're very expensive in the UK, like ridiculously expensive. And sometimes the scholarships are not based on talent, they're based on, you know, your parents' incomes combined or anything like that. And some of them were purely talent. So I struggled to get a placement at a school. I did get accepted into a few schools, but couldn't afford them. And then I ended up at more of a local theatre school. Um, and then yeah, I guess I got a part scholarship there because yeah, they could see obviously with my parents' combined wage that it would be a struggle. So I think back then, bless her heart, my nan helped pay for a lot of my college tuition. So and then obviously I had a new audience to attend with, but my 3 years there were incredible and insane, and I saw so much so young, but everyone was so different and unique. And then I started to kind of fit in. I was like, oh, these people are crazy like me and they think like me. So I think it was like a complete different shift from school being bullied and then, yeah, going into like a creative environment. I was one of the youngest in the class as well. So, yeah.
Is
And
that
then
how you got your first gig acting in terms of TV and stuff was through theater school, or was it just an independent audition?
well, we had 3 years at theatre school and we were told not to go out and audition yet. But obviously, being the rebel I was, I went out and lined up in Langley Street in Covent Garden and auditioned for many things at Pineapple Dance Studios and Dance Attic and went for cruise auditions and music videos and stuff like that. We wasn't meant to do that until our third year. And so, yeah, it was quite naughty. But it was a good experience to go out and see what the world was going to be like and how brutal and competitive it was, especially in the dance world. There would be 500 girls going up for, you know, there's two job positions and there'd be like 100 guys, and it was quite brutal. Um, so yeah, I guess, yeah, I mean, did I forget the question?
Well, no, just with that kind of competition, how did you stay encouraged at the beginning?
Uh, I guess I never had a B plan, and I still don't today. So I never really thought about. I just thought this is my life, and
Mm.
this is what I want to do. I feel good about it. I feel that hum in my body when I'm around it, and uh, very quickly I just thought, this. I have to do this. I don't know what area I'm going to end up in. I think everyone's journey, you never set out to be one thing or the other. I mean, all right, I did think that I was going to go to Broadway and do, and be in some big Chicago or Fosse show, and I was obsessed with that kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, I knew I would do something in the
Mm.
industry, and I guess the acting jobs, because you had to learn to sing, you had to be a triple threat, right? It's like
Mm.
the whole chorus line thing is true. Like you have to be a triple threat. And I was never much of a singer. I was more of a character singer. So I'd have loads of character songs that I could act through and be a comedian, and the dancing was good. Like that was my strength, and I guess that's when I started to get into like the martial arts world as well. And me and my brother used to watch a lot of, Hong Kong cinema stuff and Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Jet Li stuff. So I kind of that was an easy transition from being a dancer into martial arts stuff on the sideline. And then that's
Okay.
when I started to kind of get jobs through that.
I need to ask, first of all, before we proceed, do you remember any of these character songs, like a little phrase from one of them that you used to sing?
Oh my God. I think one of my main songs was from Chorus Line,
Yeah.
Valerie Clark. Um, the dance 10 looks 3, and I'm still on unemployment, dancing for my own enjoyment. That ain't a kid, that ain't a kid. That one.
I love that. Good thing the industry's changed and everybody's loaded who works in the industry. It's amazing, right? So, yeah,
Yeah.
relevant song. So wait, I'm so curious. So you start getting acting jobs and getting really comfortable with the industry and finding your people, which is the most wonderful thing when you are a neurominority is to find people who are like you. And sometimes we have to wait a very long time to do that. But I'm dying to know, how did you get into stunts? Because that is not something you expect, somebody with your background to get into. So what was the story of getting into stunt work?
Um, well, I guess 7 years ago, when I did get into it, there wasn't many women doing it, well,
Mm.
especially not in the UK. I think that there has been women in the US that have done stuff like Zoe Bell and stuff like that, who used to double for on all of the Kill Bill films, and Uma Thurman, sorry, and had been working with Tarantino and stuff like that. And I guess in the UK there was really, really, really a small amount of us, and I didn't really know that until I started to go into like the training world, and it's
Mhm.
actually quite small. Um, the classes and like the gyms that I used to train at is where I met a lot of stunt guys that were training for the stunt register. And they were like, oh, yeah, but you might have to train for the stunt register. So I was like, okay, well, what does that include? And you have to get all these disciplines and, high dive and swimming and horse riding and gymnasts, stuff like that. And I thought, okay, well, I was already kind of doing gymnastics anyway. And um, I had to pick like judo or karate or something, a taekwondo. So I started to train for it, but it's very expensive. And again, I become challenged with the whole financial side of like, I don't know, I don't think I'm gonna be able to like complete this because, you're gonna spend like 30 grand for training. And I'd just come out of theatre school and stuff like that. And I thought, oh, this is really annoying. But it's that whole right place, right time thing of um and obviously networking and who I just fell into the right place, right time for a job that came up. And I remember they'd hired a girl to take a shot. I fall down some stairs and she didn't want to do it. And I basically volunteered. I was like, I'll do it. um,
And they just let you do it. That's
they're like,
amazing.
are you? I was like, no, I'm a trainee stunt woman. I got some pads in my bag. I'll do it. Let me see. I was like, I've said I've never done a stair fall before, so you might have to show me how to do that. And of course, like, it was a super indie film and stuff like that. And yeah, I ended up doing it successfully, didn't get injured, and my paycheck went up. And I was like, cool. So if I get shot and beaten up and thrown down the stairs, like, I get quite good money for this. So that was appealing. Um, and then I guess the word just kind of got around, and then the phone called. The phone rang even, not called.
Nice.
But and then yeah, little jobs started to come in. Um,
What was the most daring stunt you ever did? Was it because falling down the stairs is like that's terrifying enough, I think, to do that on purpose. Did you, because I know you do wire work and a few other
yeah.
things too, don't you? So what was your scariest one?
I mean, I love wires. Wire stunts are my favorite. I mean, a lot of people get a bit scared because you never know quite know where you're gonna end up or land. But it's like the only feeling in the world where you feel like you can fly for a minute. Um, and then yeah, and then you're gonna hit the ground. But it's I find that really exhilarating. I guess any kind of fall, especially if it's on the stairs, it's harder. It's the more dangerous ones. Sometimes it's the more simple ones that are dangerous than the
Mhm.
big explosions and stuff like that. Only because stair falls and stuff like that is you can land differently each time. Especially when the adrenaline kicks in and you go for it on the camera. Um, so they're always a bit more frightening, I think, for me, and especially like a car hit as well, like getting hit by a car.
Mhm.
Again, like you're not going to land in the same spot. Um, and yeah, the whole being set on fire thing. I didn't really like being set on fire. I I
Was it
tried my
cleaning
arm
it or
once.
something?
Yeah, I did the arm, the sleeve once, and yeah, I wasn't really a fan. And I'd seen a friend do it before, and it kind of went wrong, and he ended up with a burn like on his lip and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, that's not for me. And what people forget sometimes is like everyone specializes in different things. You don't have to be a gymnast or a racing car driver. Like
Mhm.
for me, my speciality was weapons and wire work and fight choreography. Um, yeah, I did do falls and stuff like that, but that was really where my strength was um, as a stunt woman at the time.
That's amazing. Like, can I just ask real quick, which film, because you've worked on so many amazing Fast and the Furious, all kinds of stuff. What was the one film that you worked on that you were just like, I just can't believe I'm doing this. This is so cool.
I think Ready Player One was actually one of my favorite ones because I kind of came in late on that project. Like I got a call. I think I can't remember if someone dropped out or someone got injured, but I got the call. I'd not done motion capture before.
Mm.
Um, I had an idea and I thought, okay, well, how difficult can it be? And again, it was all that like quickly learning on the job stuff. Um, and of course, Steven Spielberg was directing that. And we shot that over at Warner Brothers Studios. And then that job for me was just super fun because when you do mocap, it's like, especially like for neurodivergent, like it's a whole space where you have this imaginary world where you can run from monsters that are not even there and you have to shoot at them. And it's like your inner child just elevated. And it was so fun. And it was in the summer as well. I remember it was really hot in there, and the cast and crew were really lovely. And obviously, meeting Mr. Spielberg himself was amazing, and he was such a lovely guy. And yeah, it was just one of those jobs where it's very surreal when you're stretching first thing in the morning. Um, actually, the first day I met him, it was really embarrassing because I was stretching and I was eating scrambled eggs and sausage. And I remember this, and I just took a mouthful of sausage, and these 2 feet appeared in my view, and I looked up, and it was Mr. Spielberg, and he went, "Morning, you're new," and I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, "What timing is this?" And I was like, "Mr. Spielberg, pleasure to meet you." Um, and he was like, "Enjoy your sausage," and I was like, "I will." I was like, And I was like, I hope I get to meet him again so I can actually talk to him without a mouthful. But yeah, he was very lovely to everyone. So that was a very surreal job. And he
That's
and he has a basketball court like for us all. Like he had like basketball hoops, so we could just shoot hoops like on our
Did he
breaks.
play? Did he play?
No, but you know me, I threw my trailer was like backed onto where his was sectioned off, so he had quite a big section. And I was out there messing around with um, a young lad who was actually the producer's son. I didn't know this. And I threw the ball too hard and it bounced off and it went over. I could hear that he was on a call and it bounced over into his section. And without thinking, I just panicked and ran. And all the security just came out. As if to be like, who is this mad woman running into Mr. Spielberg's tent area? But he was cool. It didn't hit him, thankfully. I didn't get fired.
So speaking of directors, because obviously still Steven Spielberg is one of our favorites, but so we've got stunt work here, and then we've got you going into directing. So what was it that made you decide, and with directing being such a reading intense type of job, what made you pull to that side instead of continuing with stunt work?
Again, I think it boils back down to it. Even when I was younger, I was a storyteller
Yeah.
and I had so many ideas and stories in my head. And I was writing from a really young age. And, I wasn't very good at it, but I just started to write scripts and stories and feature films, which recently I look back on and some of them are quite dark. I'm like, did I write that? Um, and I think it was an outlet for me to brain dump. And I was like, every time I saw people watched or I read a newspaper article, my brain just would go blah. And I was like, oh my God, I've got an idea. So I would write it. And I guess that's another thing that a lot of people that aren't in the creative space, they don't understand. Like your brain's so highly functioning like all the time. So that's why I just had so many notebooks and stuff like that. I was always writing stories and cutting newspaper articles out and stuff like that. And thinking, oh, that would make a really good spy thriller, and this would be a really good action comedy. And oh, I'd love to see these nuns running around with guns in space and doing this cool stuff. And it's like if you spoke outwardly about stuff like that to the
Mm.
average person, they'd be going, "Are you all right?" Um, so yeah, so I guess the writing side and playing roles and creating roles for women that weren't as obvious became the thing that then overtook me. So I think the stunt work was great and obviously it paid the bills and it was an amazing world to be in. But I never wanted to get stuck in it because I always knew there was a little director in me that wanted to, step up and make things. And I was already, that's, 10 minutes for a pound was like the first film that we kind of that we made, and that was just like another little idea, and that's kind of like how all my shorts have come about. They're just an idea that I've had sitting there for a long time, and I guess watching people like Spielberg and other big directors on set was so inspiring, and thinking, yeah, that's what I want to do. I don't want to be in front of camera anymore. I want to be behind it, and I want to bring the vision to life and you know tell a story.
So what would your dream project be to direct?
Oh, I mean, probably something female led that's comes at it from a very different perspective and not the whole like women can't survive without men, or she has to go and track down the person that killed her mother or took her child, or she's hormonal. Get rid of all that and just create a film that's like, first of all, escapism, because we need that, and just something that's just entertaining that's put on the screen. Like the whole making film and having it put on cinema is the whole point of, we don't want that dying out. So I guess something like that, something that I can just brain dump, or something that's just really wild. And the projects that I'm working on right now, so they're the ones that, I mean, don't get me wrong. If they're looking for a Bond director for the next Bond, I'm gonna take it. But that would be the day. Um, or a mission film, big franchise film. But yeah, I think something first that you can put your own stamp on, I think is
Hmm.
more exciting. Because, a franchise is different. You got to follow suit. So,
So speaking of franchises and everything, I'm dying to know because you're shadowing Christopher McQuarrie, which is just the craziest thing on the set of Mission Impossible. I know that there would be a million directors out there that would be insanely jealous of this. So I'm dying to know, is there anything you can tell us about what it's like on the set of Mission Impossible?
well, first of all, Christopher McQuarrie, McHugh, as we call him. Uh,
Oh, McHugh. Okay. I'm going to
McHugh.
pretend I know him
There's,
well.
there's too
McHugh.
many
How's it
Chris's on set, I was
going?
told. So McHugh is even better.
Yeah.
So he is. and very he's an inspiration as a director, and
Mhm.
he is so thoughtful, and he's I want to get inside his mind. Like, he's an amazing storyteller. Like, he thinks on a complete different level, which makes him obviously like just a total different league to other directors. And um I mean, he freaking out, he won an Oscar for, The Usual Suspects
Mm.
and the 80s, and it was the first thing he wrote and won an Oscar for it. So he's like a very natural storyteller, and he's just so lovely and generous with his time, and he really empowers women in their roles as well. I mean, he has two daughters that, and an amazing wife who have supported him, and they're very strong women, and he's surrounded himself with really strong, amazing women, and that's like what he gives off. And I've always felt very welcome. They're like a family, the mission team. Everyone, including Tom, is absolutely lovely and makes you feel welcome. And yeah, it's been such a long process for them, the whole mission, the final reckoning.
Mm.
And I'm very excited for them. But it's I can't say much more in terms of, obviously I'm under NDAs as well.
Yeah, yeah, I know. We
But
have to walk that.
him as a mentor in the industry, and the fact that he said yes to me. I mean, I've never shook so much when I asked someone the question, "Can I come on and shadow you?" face to face. And it's really took a long time for me to build up to be able to get the confidence to do that in a room with someone. Um, Worst case scenario, they're going to say no. But
Mm.
when it's someone so big, and when as soon as he mentioned that they were doing reshoots, I was just like, I just asked. I thought it's now or never. Um, Someone asked me recently like how it happened, but I met McHugh at the BFI. So BFI ran the Art of Action season over Christmas for a few months, and I ended up directing 4 action ads for that Art of Action season, a quadrilogy, and it was really good exposure for me as a director
Mhm.
off the
They're
back end of
really
that.
good too, by the way. For anyone listening or watching, they're excellent. Can they see them on the BFI website?
Yeah, they're on BFI on the YouTube channel. They're on my YouTube channel as well. They're all out on socials, and that was the lovely thing about it. They were all under 60 seconds, and I could do what I wanted. Um, I did a Buster Keaton tribute and lots of other tributes. You can go and see them. It's the quadrilogy. So, um, and I guess off the back end of them running events, they had Julian and Ron, who run the Action Festival in the UK in London, and they had an event on that evening for a fantastic film called The Train. If you haven't seen it, it's really good. It's a quite an old film. I think it was the first action film after like the talkies, the talkies kind of era. And it was incredible. And McHugh and Eddie Hamilton, who edits Impossible, who's also a lovely guy. They did a Q&A after that, and they ended up in the green room. And I ended up in the green room also, because I really wanted to meet Chris, and that's how it all happened. And yeah, it was ironic because I had to run to get my train after watching the train. I had like 20 minutes until my last train, and I was in full conversation with McHugh. And so I was like, oh my God, like I got this now, I just got to ask. If he says no, then fine. But he said yes, and he was a man of his word. And he followed through, and yeah, um, I'm excited to what's going to happen in the future, maybe.
I'm so excited to hear like more about what that leads to, because I th these types of things in this industry don't happen very often, do they? And it kind of what I'm what basically for people who aren't in the film and TV industry, it's 99% no. It's thousands of no's and
Oh,
and so what you have to do is obviously celebrate the yeses, but what we have to do is figure out a way. And that's basically your life in this industry is figuring out a way because you have so many obstacles. So my question is, Jadey, being neurodivergent as well, we already have like a particular set of obstacles. that just get around trying to get on with our jobs and whatever else. But because it's such a difficult time in the film and TV industry as well, I'm interested in if you could give an example of where you had a particular obstacle and what you had to do to get around it in a
Mm.
resourceful way or whatever else, because you are one of the most resourceful people I have ever met. And so this always intrigues me about you.
Well, the first thing I would say, and it's really difficult, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, "Ah, it's so easy. You get a no, and then you go get a yes." No. Um, I have had from a very young age multiple knockbacks,
Mm,
no's, left, right, and center. And I think experience and time and patience and but also persistence is key to how you emotionally deal with that. I suffer with anxiety very badly, and I did when I was very young. I used to get panic attacks really badly, and um, I never thought that was something that was an extra hurdle I had to deal with. And I thought this is gonna eat me alive. I'm not gonna be able to speak in public or go into rooms or do anything because I'd get so overwhelmed. It was weird. I could go into an audition and in front of lots of people or talk about what I loved. That didn't make me anxious, but when it come to exposing myself or asking for help, I found it really difficult. And I guess everyone is different in terms of how they deal with it, but one thing I would say is that every no that I get, that just makes me so hungry to get a yes because I just think, okay, this is not meant to be, and I'm going to prove you wrong. And that's the kind of mentality that you got to start building into yourself.
mhm,
I also found Shonda Rhimes' book, The Year of Yes, really. As I just said, I'm not a reader. It takes me so long to read a book. Um, but I did read that book quite fast and I couldn't put it down. And I think she's a very inspirational woman herself. And I'm sure she's had tons of knockbacks and boundaries before she's got where she's got. And her year of yes was really interesting because um, with anxiety, you just say no because you go, no, I can't do it, can't face it. And therefore, you're holding yourself back. You're never going to get or be able to strive forward. With that book, it was like start saying yes to everything that just absolutely petrifies you. And I thought, ooh, that's a challenge. So a few years ago, I started to do that. So something would come up, and then I was still auditioning. I was still performing and auditioning, and everything that come up that instantly my body went, ooh, don't do it. I went, okay, and I forced myself to do it to the point where I was like, I'm so proud of myself that I did it. Silly little things, but you have to celebrate the small successes as well, which nobody does. Because if you don't, you're just gonna die. You're gonna die in a heap, like of just suffocating with everyone shouting no at you. And I think that's the thing. I mean, the year of yes night might not resonate with people, but it did for me. I think it's just finding certain outlets for yourself, whether you're spiritual, whether you have angel cards or you read a book or anything like that, just to bring you back down and to ground you because it does get overwhelming. But also my mentality is, and if you truly believe in yourself or your projects or your scripts, and you know that's what you want to do, then as they say, start building your own path, to success. Because you end up on one path, but it doesn't mean it's the right one. So you might
mm,
go up and, start creating another one and go, right, well, I'll put that on hold and I'll come back and I'm actually going to go down this road now because that's what I feel is important. And I can't remember who it was, which director it was recently. They were talking about it might have been Scorsese or it might have been Spielberg, can't remember. But they were saying about this whisper. Now, I kind of can relate to that. I don't know if you can, Amanda, but like that whisper, that intuition that sometimes if you're in tune with yourself and you're like, I don't know why, but I have to do this script or I need to get to this actor or I need to go to this event because I want to meet that person. You got to start thinking outside the box of how you can get in front of those other people. The main reason I went to events by myself and forced myself, which I hated, nobody likes going to an event on their own, is because there were people on that panel I wanted to talk to and say hello to. And it's so much more powerful in person. I know we've had some tough times with lockdown, but it's really, you got to really put yourself out there. And that's what's going to help get rid of those no's. And, ask for things, ask for people to watch your films, or ask for an email, or ask for a coffee. Because a lot of the time people say to me, well, how did you do that? And I said, well, have you ever asked that person? They go, no, because they're just going to say no, they're too big. Well, have you asked? Because sometimes that's all it is. And it's ourselves holding ourselves back. And one of my dance teachers always said to me, Jadey, you need to get out your own way. And I've always tried to live by that. Don't get me wrong, I have days where I don't want to get up, and I'll be lazy and not do anything, and feel sorry for myself and watch Pretty Woman a million times and eat chocolate and feel really crappy about myself. But those days are less now,
Yeah.
because the way my brain works, and then maybe it's a neurodivergent thing, but it's always like, oh my God, if I sit and do nothing, there are a million people out there that are working faster and harder than me, and they're going to get there before me.
Yep.
It's an exhausting way to think.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's real fun. It's like sprinting all the time, isn't it? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
but
is. It's
that's
that.
how you win.
It is, and you have to put everything into it. And
Mhm.
I've always said to people that have come to me or they want help, I'm always open to help people, but they
Yeah.
have to be hard workers,
Yep.
because too many people, especially in my 20s, I realized I carried them in a
Yep.
backpack
Mm.
everywhere with me, because I felt like I needed to have someone there with me, and then I wouldn't really focus on myself or my story or my goals.
Yep.
And again, that comes with being a giving person, and you want to do that, and then quite quickly you're getting swallowed up. So you just gotta you just gotta keep going. I know there's no magic drink or power like that can solve it. It's just you just gotta have that fire
This
in your
is it.
guts.
Yeah. This is just it's just the audacity and, just the willingness to not listen, the unwillingness to listen to what anyone has to say. And what's amazing is we, as, neurominorities have to do that anyways. We're kind of used to doing that all the time. So maybe we're specially equipped to kind of function outside of yes. But I'd love to know, because we've only got time for a few more questions, but I'd love to know. So the last dumpling, which it's hard for me to like to prefer any of your films because I love everything you do. It's always a combination of comedy and action, right? And I love that combination. But in The Last Dumpling, you have so basically the story is about two people on a date and there's a dumpling left and it's a fight for who gets to eat the last one. Same thing with a slice of pizza or whatever else. I'd love to know how you tell me about what makes The Last Dumpling so special and where you got the idea from to do it.
Well, again, this connects nicely to what I said earlier about people watching or situations that your brain works differently, when you go out for dinner. And one of the things that always annoyed me, and it's either just really, again, very British people were just so polite, is that when you go to a tapas restaurant or something where you have five people on the table and everyone's ordered a dish, I can guarantee you every time there was like one olive left, one arancini, one like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, of
and I
course.
would literally watch everyone, and everyone would be looking at it like, and it's like, but no one would eat it. And I was like, this is really funny. So most starters, I don't know why, come up in threes. Some are coming up in fours now. So yeah, so I thought, well, I'll make it two guys, because I think if it was a male and female, the male would just offer it to the woman, obviously, and then that's the story over. But if it's two guys who are super hungry, they're going to want it. So that kind of that was kind of built into that. And then having the chopsticks to play with and dumplings on wires and just bringing back that kind of yeah, that Hong Kong cinema vibe. There's no dialogue in it. That's the challenge I wanted, is taking it back to just that visual, storytelling, comedy action. And obviously there's a cute dog in it as well, just to
There
make
is a
it
cute dog in it,
um
which you can't lose when you've got dumplings, amazing, talented men, and a dog. Like that's a win-win-win all around.
yeah,
And
dumplings, dog, and a date.
so
It's
if you were in it, though, if you were in it, who would you want your ideal opponent to be? Who would you fight for the last dumpling?
oh, it's gonna be Michelle Yeoh.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Probably Michelle Yeoh, I would say, just because obviously she's so iconic, and
Oh God, she's a goddess. Yeah.
she would be really fun, and she's got good comedy timing as well. Originally, I was going to be in it with one of the guys, but again, that's when you have to kind of go, no,
Yeah.
I need to stop kind of doing that, because people very quickly will put you in a box, and if that's what you keep doing, then you can't be a director, or you can't
Mm.
be, so I was like, no, 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 I just want to be a director on this, and the writer and producer and whatnot, um, to get it made. And I'm glad I did, because those guys they're super talented and they're so cute.
It's amazing. I just love it, and I hope that everybody in the audience gets a chance to see it because it's totally worth it. It's a brilliant short film. But so before we go into the Steven Spielberg pot noodle story, I'm dying to know what is like the one piece of advice you'd give to other neurodivergent people, like neurominorities who have got big obstacles, whether it's in the creative industry or just in any industry, really.
I think see it as your superpower and try and embrace it and not be too worried about what other people think, which I think is a really big part of it. And I think as soon as you can put that to bed, um, your confidence will grow immensely. And again, I think it's that whole don't be afraid to put yourself out situation as well. It just we've all got that, what's it called, where you there's that word, I always forget it, where we hold back. Can't think of what the word is.
Do you mean like the fear and hold ourselves back, or we're afraid to be, we make ourselves small? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's like the other thing I think helps sometimes, and I know it's not very useful if you've not been a performer, but when you're an actor, you're stepping into those shoes. So sometimes, like, if you've got that pair of shoes, it's like you're more confident in. That's why I never wear heels to events. Like, screw that, because I'm not confident, I'm not grounded. I'd rather wear my trainers or my boots. And, I think just you don't have to follow a trend or be someone else. Just be yourself. And, if stepping into a certain pair of shoes makes you more confident when you go out the door, then do that. I mean, some people power pose. I mean,
Mm.
I have tried that before and I felt really weird doing it, especially in the lift. The lift I used to get in the apartment had a mirror, and I used to just stand there like Wonder Woman. And then someone would get in and you're just like, and they're like, what are you doing? And you're like, just that. They're like, I'm going to kick ass today. And it's like, that works for people and people do that. Um, Again, everyone's different. So it's just finding that thing that makes you feel more confident and grounded, but you're not alone. Like, that's the biggest thing as well. I think there's a
I
whole
love that.
community of it.
I love that. And tap, I think it's so important, isn't it? Then the older I get, I realize this more and more to be in touch with as many neurodivergent people, like as many neuro minorities as possible, because they get things in a way that other people don't get it. And you don't have to constantly fall into the trap of defending yourself or over
Yeah.
explaining everything or whatever else. And so I
Well,
love that.
look at how we met as well. Like, I remember, and Joe, who's just incredible and lovely as well. And we talked about how we pack our shopping on a conveyor belt, and how things have to be in certain order and stuff like that. And we just all went, yes, I do that. Um, you know, and it's
Yes.
just things where you're like, oh yeah, this is the stuff we bond over, and how we can't sit in a cafe with our back to the door. because we
Yeah.
can't see who's coming in.
All these things.
You
All
know,
these,
it's true. And sometimes you're like, is there something wrong with me? Why can't I not sit like that? Um, and there's just ultimate, it's not just things on the surface, it's things like that we're able to talk to openly and we just all get it. We're like,
100.
yeah,
I think it's
because
really important.
there's so much of it out there now. And the
Yeah,
more and it's kind of weird, you kind of vibe straight away and you can tell you're like, I love this person already.
a
And within
hundred
five,
percent.
10 seconds, I
I
can,
have like what I call autdar, where I can see other autistic people immediately just from like how their eyes move or their gait or dinosaur walk or there's like five things. There's like five marks
or they're
right
just
away.
eating all the free food and drinking the beer in the corner. You're
Yeah,
like,
same
that's
with
that.
ADHD, you know what I mean? I can
Yeah.
spot an ADHDer in 10
Yeah,
seconds.
no,
So,
totally. Yeah, it's
but
amazing.
okay, so this has been like I love chatting with you. So we need to know the audience has been waiting for an hour to hear the Steven Spielberg pot noodle story. Can you tell us what happened with that, please?
Well, it was, I can't remember what day on set it was, but we were on quite a huge setup, and as most of you know, or don't, maybe not, but Spielberg shoots on the film and Panavision, and the camera setup is huge. It takes quite a long time to reset up. So when he says, "Let's go again," it's like um all of us then were like, you can go back to your trailers and hang out, and we'll call you when we're ready. And I was like, oh, can I? So I said to the AD, I was like, can I just hang out here? And I just want to see, you know, what's going on. And he was like, yeah, of course, no problem. So I was standing kind of where the video village was, and Spielberg was there, and I was watching them move the ginormous camera that we had, and everyone, like all the crew, just looking at what they were doing. And again, that was another reason I was like burning to direct. I was like, this is so amazing. All these people are here, and you're the captain of the ship. So I was just watching him give notes to people, and him always thinking and getting out his director's viewfinder and finding the next shot. And I was like, I was front row for it. And I just remember sitting there, and he kind of spotted me, and he was like, hey. I was like, hi. I was like, don't mind me, just watching. He was like, no, it's the best way to learn. And it was really funny because out the whole group, I was the only one that wanted to stay and watch. And that's when I knew. I was like, yeah, I need to be a director. Like this is what I want to do. And then it was a runner that came on and handed him a pot noodle, and he was so into what he was doing. He put the pot noodle down on the side and
So for
started.
everyone who doesn't know, by the way, a pot noodle is like ramen in a
Yeah,
cup, and you add the boiling water, and then you just eat it
yeah,
out of
it's hot, as
yeah.
we were about to find out. And I remember that the young girl said, "Oh, it's very hot, so just be careful." And obviously, because he's doing multiple things and thinking about multiple things, and I just remember him. I was just watching him, and I was very cautious to not like stare him out. And he's like, "Who is this person staring at me?" But I was just in his little world for a minute, and then he picks up the pot noodle like a few minutes after she left it there, takes the fork and takes like quite a big mouthful, and of course it's so hot, so he ends up burning. He's like, "Wah!" And I'm sitting there going, "This is really uncanny that I'm just watching him slurp a pot noodle, and he's now it's just really hot." And um, moments like just little private moments with him. And then he ended up talking to me. I can't remember the conversation that much, but I do remember him saying about how he used to sneak into studios when he wasn't meant to be there, and me sitting there reminded him of when he was a kid, like sitting there waiting to see what was happening and what the setups were and stuff. And I was like, yeah. And I always remember him saying, "Do you want to be a filmmaker?" And I was like, "Oh, is that what they call it these days? A filmmaker?" So I just said, "Yes, I do. Yeah." And and it was just one of those little magical little moments. It was like my little moment there. So
It's
yeah,
wonderful.
that's the pot noodle story.
That's wonderful. And yeah, I will always have that visual in my mind. Like whenever somebody brings up Steven Spielberg, since I've heard that story, that's what I think about. So but thank you so much for sharing that and for sharing your journey, JD. It's exciting to see people not listening to the no. You know what I mean? And for finding their own way, building their own table, inviting people to eat at it, eat and really making a difference in the industry. So if people want to find out more about you or book you to maybe give a talk or to direct a project, where should they go?
So I got a website, so it's jadeyduffield.com. I've also got dreammorefilms.com as well. Both of those you can reach out, or it's just jd@dreammorefilms.com. You can email me. Um, I'm pretty good with emails. Um, she
You're
says.
very good with emails. No, yeah,
She says.
that's
Or
amazing.
I'm on socials as well. It's just my handle is Jadey Duffield on most social platforms. So I don't really use Facebook that much. But
Mm.
yeah, I'm quite active on Insta.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much again for being an amazing first guest. It's very exciting, Miss Amazing Disruptor. And if you, as the audience, are interested in learning more about joining the Institute of Neurodiversity, finding out more what the ION does, look out for updates in the near future, and you can always check out the website. So thank you very much, and thanks again, Jadey.
Thank you so much.